Hello, and welcome back to your South King County real estate update. My name is Sarah Eggleston with Stone Egg Realty at John L. Scott, and I'm here to deliver your local real estate news for the week. I'll go ahead and jump right into the slides because there's some interesting stuff to cover today. So today is March 18th, 2022, and what happened this week? I had some clients that I've been working with the last couple of weeks. We put in offers and got beat out by, there was a lot of offers in on a couple of these properties. The first house that we put in an offer on, there was, I think, 18 offers, and then 4 offers might have been reversed. There's been kind of a lot going on the last couple of days, but we had 2 weekends where we got beat out in multiple offers, and we started looking at homes that had a review date within the next couple of days. This is something that in the future if I have a client that needs to get into a home like yesterday, I'm definitely going to have them focus on, hey, let's look at the ones that review on Monday. And if we don't get one of those, we'll look at the ones that review on Tuesday and have our offers lined up so that we can put multiple offers in a single week and shorten the process of the search, hopefully. One thing that really did help in getting my client's offer accepted was just reaching out to the listing agent, asking what they needed, asking what the seller was looking for in the offer that they were looking for. What would their ideal offer look like? And brought that information back to my clients. We worked to get our best offer, put our best foot forward, and got our offer accepted. So make sure you're working with an agent who is in communication with the listing agent if you're looking to buy a home. This really can be super key in the process because sometimes the seller wants something that is not necessarily obvious. Maybe they don't want to pack up and move everything. They just want to be able to leave some stuff that they want to get rid of, and you can take that on. Or instead of, if you're thinking about putting 20% down on a property, maybe put 10% down on the contract and put the other 10% as additional down payment if the property appraises low. And then if it doesn't appraise low, you can still do the 20% down, but you have that covered. There's so many different ways you can put your offer together to strengthen it in the seller's eyes. So make sure you are talking with your agent and your agent is talking with the listing agent if you are trying to purchase a home. I'll go ahead and jump back on into the slides. This is just a little bit of a reminder since this did go into effect last weekend. On Saturday, March 12th, masks are more optional. Sellers can require people to wear masks inside their home. Offices can require agents and staff and visitors to wear masks inside their offices, but it's not state mandated. It is up to the individual or the company at this point. There wasn't that much happening for hyperlocal news, but Amazon Sound Transit are pairing together to build hundreds of apartments in Bellevue, SeaTac, in an affordable housing push. So affordable housing is something that we are in desperate need of as home prices increase so quickly. That means rent prices are increasing really quickly, and we need places for the working people to stay. If you work in Bellevue, you want to live near Bellevue. You don't want to have to commute an hour and a half in to be a teacher in Bellevue. It's one of those things, we just need to have housing available for certain jobs in our industry that are super critical. I'm just going to touch on this briefly because this is more apartments, but it is housing related. So the construction is likely to begin in 2023 in Angle Lake. So that is in the SeaTac area. Angle Lake it's a beautiful area. it is going to be, these units are targeted towards residents who earn 30 to 80% of the median income. So not people who are not working, but these are people that are working in jobs that are traditionally underpaid, like teachers. This is just a small portion of what we need in King County, because really King County needs 244,000 new affordable homes by 2040 to ensure that families will have a place to live and not spend too much of their income on that. This is the big news of the week. The Fed begins the inflation fight with key rate hike more to come. So Wednesday was the Fed's meeting. There was some speculation a month or two ago that they were going to raise the rate by 0.5 point, but they only did it by 1/4 point, partially because, well, mainly because of what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. That sort of thing does affect our economy. So they ended up only raising it 1/4 point rather than the 0.5 point. Powell stressed his confidence in the economy, and basically we're strong enough now to deal with these larger interest rates. So I would expect things to increase over the course of the year. The unemployment rate is now below 4%. Inflation is nearing 8%. And the war in Ukraine will likely put even more upward pressure on prices. So the Fed also set quarterly economic projections. They're looking at possibly 7 rate hikes throughout the course of the year that would raise the rate to 1.75. And this is not mortgage rates. This is a little bit more complicated than that. So this is like a base rate. It affects the 10-year Treasury bond, which then affects mortgage rates. Fed officials forecast 4 more rate hike increases in 2023 after the 7 in 2022. So we would really like to keep inflation much, much lower than it currently is. And the Fed is doing everything they can to make that happen. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening with China's closed ports and the Russian invasion. There's a lot going on, and there's been a sharp rise in gas prices since the invasion, up more than 60 cents nationwide. That's affecting different areas differently, but that is something that the Fed has had a notoriously difficult time managing in the past. And that brings us to our market stat minute. For our new listings in King County, we had 754, 889 pendings, and 773 sold. So we did tick down slightly in new listings from last week, tick up in pendings from last week, just up slightly in solds. If we bring that to our local market here, if we look at Renton, the new listings 27 compared to the pendings 57. So this is like new listings, there's half the number of pendings in the last 7 days. Kent, Federal Way, and Auburn, they all have much stronger new listing log here compared to their pendings. But if you look at the green line compared to this peachy line, Renton has like no inventory compared to the pendings. If you compare that to Kent, Federal Way, and Auburn, all of them, the pendings outweigh the new listings, but Renton, that is far more extreme. And if you'll remember last week, our weekly average mortgage rate hit 3.85. And if we bring it to this week, average US mortgage rates rise, 30-year loan breaches 4%. So this is the first time we've been over 4% since May of 2019. So well before the pandemic. It's jumped to 4.16 from 3.85 last week. A year ago, we were at 3.09. So this, you can see, is a pretty sharp increase. We'll dig a little bit more into this in a minute, because this mortgage rate jump is kind of the real estate news headline of the week. Home prices have risen about 15% year over year throughout the country on average. And it says as much as 30% in some cities, and that definitely includes the King County area. We are much closer to 30 than to 15 in a lot of areas. There's been like 28% growth in some areas. Yeah, it's nuts. Homes available for sale have been in short supply, and that is leading to higher prices. With the rising interest rates, that'll make things harder for buyers, decrease their affordability. This increase came amid expectations that with inflation at a 4-decade high, the Federal Reserve would raise its benchmark short-term interest rate at its policy meeting, and that is exactly what happened. So they did, as I said, raise it a 1/4 point, but that is not the 1/2 point that we were kind of expecting a month or two ago. The government reported Tuesday that the wholesale inflation in the US shot up 10% last month from a month earlier. Another sign that inflation pressures remain intense at all levels of the economy. This price jump does not include, this was prior to the Russia invasion of Ukraine. And if we look at our interest rates today, they actually today got slightly better. Ever so slightly, but look at this. Our daily rate is at 4.46%. So being at 3.85 weekly average a week ago, this is an unfortunate jump if you have waited to refinance or purchase a home. This is a big deal. It's official, highest rates in 3 years, but this article came out yesterday, which was the day after the Fed meeting. So yesterday there was hardly any movement. Today it got ever so slightly better. But if you're looking at the week-to-week comparison, it's a shocking headline. If you look at the Wednesday rates compared to Thursday rates, definitely not nearly as shocking. Mortgage rates are definitely very fluid. They move up and down very quickly. And the Fed only meets a few times a year. So they change their rate far fewer times than the mortgage rates change, which can be multiple times per day. So here, the blue is Mortgage News Daily. The black or gray is the MBA, and orange is Freddie Mac. These are the interest rates. The daily, the blue, jumps up and down a lot more than the weekly or those that are reported less often. If you look up today, it tips up to like 4.5 and then heads back down. So if you look at the weekly average, it doesn't give you the full story. If you just read the Seattle Times article, it doesn't give you the full story about what's happening from the day to day, because that can change quite a bit. And how higher interest rates will affect American finances. This, I didn't go dig into the first half of this article because it's mainly basically what we just covered. But this was the second half of the article, and they answered some questions. I'm considering buying a house. Will mortgage rates go steadily higher? And they already have in the past few months, partially in anticipation of the Fed's moves, and will probably keep doing so. This is something we have been predicting for quite a while, but interest rates, we do expect them to go up throughout the year or the next 2 years, possibly. Long-term mortgages tend to track the 10-year Treasury note, which in turn is influenced by a variety of factors. These include investors' expectations for future inflation and global demand for U.S. Treasuries. The Russian invasion has spurred a flight to safety, meaning that people are buying Treasury bonds as they are one of the world's safest assets. The higher demand for the 10-year Treasury would reduce mortgage rates. You can see it is a very complicated web of numbers that interweave here. And mortgage rates, they have a lot of influences and are expected to go up throughout the year. And how will that affect the housing market? If interest rates are going up, how does that affect the housing market? If you're looking to buy a home and are frustrated with the lack of available houses, that's probably not that likely to change soon. We're so underbuilt in our nation. We could have so many more houses and still have a shortage. Economists say that higher mortgage rates will discourage some purchasers, but home prices have been growing at such an incredible rate over the last couple of years that between the higher rates and the higher prices, it really is going to push some people out of the market, and they're not going to be able to buy something that would work for them, and they'll have to continue renting. We'll still have a pretty robust housing market this year despite the rising interest rates. If you are thinking about buying or selling in 2022, please reach out to me and let me know. I would love to send you one of these spring buyer or seller guides specifically for spring 2022. It says really relevant numbers, really pertinent information, and it is a great first step if you're looking at possibly purchasing or selling in 2022. Looking at this guide is a really great resource to help you have all the information to make that decision. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I would love to have a conversation with you about the market in your area or an area you're interested in possibly moving to. What's happening with interest rates? I really was only able to brush the surface in this show. This is a really complicated topic. If you're curious about it, if you feel like it's going to be relevant in your life, please, let's have a conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Sarah Eggleston with Stone Egg Realty at John L. Scott, and I will be back next Friday with your South King County real estate news. Have a great week, and I will see you then.